Hey y'all, Moses here. In today's Valorant video, we're taking a look at Breach. Another great character, basically on the other side of the spectrum from Cypher if you've been watching my other videos. I love this guy. He's been super fun to play, and I wanted to go over his abilities and how you can use Breach to really open up sites and make a difference in your game. So let's talk about his abilities first. So looking through his left to right abilities, his C ability by default is Aftershock, which is a ability that you can fire at a wall that will make a cone of fire that looks just like this. And if you're on the other side of it, that bad boy is going to do a lot of damage to you, if not kill any enemies. So that is very good for clearing out cubbies and that kind of thing. It's really handy for that. His Q ability is a blinding charge. Again, you fire at a wall or a corner, wherever you want to put it, and it will appear on the other side, and anyone in this area is of course going to be blind. So if you're wondering about an area, or you're breaching onto into a common area where there might be enemies, chucking that charge on the other side is going to be very helpful. And as you can kind of see, no matter where you're aiming, just as long as you're relatively in line with the wall, you will be able to fire that charge way down and blind your enemies. His signature ability, his E, is a chargeable, and you can look at the minimap to see the distance. Basically range where you can stun enemies in a line, which is great for pushing lanes, pushing onto sites, and even in certain areas, assisting your teammates. You can see using the minimap again that even though you're in B, you can affect that short area into A through walls and all the way up to the enemy spawn. So it's quite useful for that kind of thing. You can just throw it through the teleport on bind, and I've been using that to great effect, getting through the teleport safely and actually getting a lot of kills as well. And finally, his ultimate ability is the ultimate site retaking or taking tool, where you fire a huge wave of destruction that will knock enemies up into the air and will stun them for quite some time. And stuns, if you haven't experienced it yet yourself, slows the fire rate, makes it very difficult to react to enemies in your front vision, and is excellent in this case for taking sites and retaking sites as well. So you can pick up a ton of kills with this guy. So let's talk a little bit about the basics of how to use these skills in meaningful ways. One of the mistakes I made out of the gate with Breach is using his abilities like passively. Like I would shoot my Aftershock and then kind of wait, see anyone peek out, see if anyone's there, that kind of thing. Really with this character, what you want to focus on is being aggressive in your timing. When you shoot that charge, make sure you're coming out to capitalize right away. And you can actually follow a lot of these abilities without even waiting for them to go off. Now, just a reminder, these will affect your teammates as well, so be very careful as to where you place these things. But when this Aftershock goes out, you step out into the lane, you want to be making sure that you're capitalizing on that shock immediately, because you might have multiple enemies in your field of view, and you could take out many. I've seen good Breach players take out 2-3 enemies with well-placed abilities. And the great thing about the C ability is it can go through a lot of different things. So the obvious one here would be firing it at this backside here, and it will maintain its trajectory depending on how you fire it. So you have to be mindful. Say if you're coming up this approach here, and you want to put some pressure on someone potentially hiding in that little cubby, which you'll often find. You want to behave the same way as you do with your other abilities, which is stepping over and initiating. Well, I missed completely. Stepping over and initiating as quickly as you can to make sure that even though that this character might be here, they're going to be forced off that area just due to the nature of that ability taking a little bit longer to actually explode, unless they don't know what's happening to them, in which case you're going to get a funny kill. But when you're initiating in this way, again, stand over, making sure or timing it in a way that you're peeking with the ability to have maximum disruption, which is what this guy is all about. Disrupting the enemy and making sure that you're capitalizing on those entry kills, which is your primary role when you're playing Breach. And this thing will go through a lot. Obviously, the crosshair will change colors if it's not going to work. In this case, there's like a little spot here where it doesn't work. But you can fire these things at a lot of stuff, man. You can see that it'll go all the way through, and it's quite a large cone of fire. So Breach can be a very powerful entry character. There's not a lot of specifics. I was thinking about doing like map guides for Breach, but you have so much control over how you can place these abilities, that you can really start to learn the stuff for yourself. A great spot for this charge again is this area on C. If there's someone hanging cubby, you can fire this thing and it just clears that whole area out. There's no hiding. It will force them into that lane for an easy kill as long as you're following it up. So you place your ability, wait a second, step out, bam, kill, easy. And if they want to hang out in cubby, they'll be vaporized anyway, so it'll be all good. And there's a lot of different places where you can use these charges, but I think his best ability is definitely this blind. Works the exact same way and has a much better effect. And it seems to me that Breach's flash, maybe it's just a placebo effect, but actually feels like it lasts longer than Phoenix or than Phoenix's flash does. But you can put this thing in the back of sight and just come out here, and if they're in any LOS, you're going to be dealing with a disoriented enemy a lot of the time. When it comes to his ultimate usage, my only recommendation is don't use it as an individual kill tool because of how powerful it is for winning rounds. Obviously, killing all the enemies is also a win, but I like to save my ultimate for taking sites because it affects a massive area as it goes through this spot. You can see it basically hits every part of the site. But because of the way the ult works, you have to be mindful that people can dodge left and right out of it. So when you're coming in after an ultimate, don't expect everyone to be stunned and keep your head up. Use your utility afterwards as well. What a mistake I've made that I think a lot of people seem to do is when that ult goes out, they forget that they have utility as well. Fire a flashbang into the areas where you think that has not been affected by your ultimate, and just use your entire kit. I think that when I was learning Breach, and as I learned Breach, using your entire kit every round is going to be something that you're probably going to want to do. Don't force it, but the idea behind an initiator is you don't really know what's on the other side of this wall. So if you're not using your utility, you're not going to be able to use the character to its fullest. This is a brief intro to the character. If you want more in-depth guides on Breach, feel free to leave a comment in the description, or sorry, excuse me, in the section down below. You can also follow me on Facebook as I learn these characters and showcase them on stream at facebook.com/wtfmoses. And you can follow me on Twitter at wtfmoses as well. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to this channel if you want more content like this in the future. And until next time, I'll see you out there.